Early Childhood Program Management, ECE 107. We are in week 2, guys. Tonight we were supposed to have a guest speaker from Cap Tulsa, and they had a little problems with hardware on the laptop, so they had to cancel this time. But I just wanted to bring them up. They were going to be a guest speaker for us, much like Stephanie Lawrence does. So they were going to be just on the computer. But I wanted to just bring up a few things. If you've never went to their website, hi Jessica, you could log on to www.captulsa.org. And if you look on kind of the left-hand side of the screen, there's a button that says Careers. And if you click on that, you will get something a little bit like this. And you will notice that they currently have 15 job openings. Some of these are teacher assistant positions. Some of these are, there's a tech support. They also need administrative assistants. Here's one for summer classes. So they're looking for a lot of different things right now. So, oh, you did, fantastic, Sarah, a preschool toddler teacher at the local college. That is fantastic. That would get you some great experience. Good luck on that. And it would be a little bit easier too than your current job, right? I know cleaning wears the body out. I did it for many years, yes, completely. So keep your eyes open for jobs. You know, it's best to go ahead and start working in your major area if you can, because it makes it so much more real and relevant when you do the assignments. If you can, like if we're talking about developmental theories, and you can witness it in your classroom to see the 2s and the 3s. On Tuesday, we had our field trip to EduCare, and Lita was there, and her friend Barry, and we got to tour the Kendall Whittier site, and it was amazing because our tour guide, Jordan Sheffield, would bring up different things, and I would go, oh, Lita, remember we talked about that last week? And it was really neat. For example, they had webbing up in one of the classrooms. They had one of the classrooms set up to be kind of Reggio Emilia / Montessori classroom, and you could see the elements in the classroom that they pulled out from that. And the way they teach is just really amazing. I know I've told you this before, but at EduCare, one unique thing that they do is that when the children come into the program, they can come as early as 6 weeks old. And, oh, and we saw the milk jug igloo too, that's right. If you guys haven't seen those on Pinterest, they're amazing. Oh, and Katrina has her interview there tomorrow. Katrina, will you be at Kendall Whittier? Yes! Oh, fantastic. You're actually going to love it. So what they do is from 6 weeks to 3 years old, one teacher stays with them. So they have, you know, 3 years with one teacher so that they bond to that teacher really well. The teacher knows them really well. They go a little more in depth than you do whenever you work with one teacher and then you move to another classroom and you have to get to kind of know them and go from there. So they do that, which is a very unique thing around our area. So if you get a chance, check them out. 15 current job openings. I pulled this off their website today, okay? And also there was one, they've got several different, I had mentioned the administrative assistant. They've got tech support. They have systems analysis that they also are trying to hire somebody for. So it's not just ECE positions. They've got a variety if you know of anybody looking for a job right now. And they are really incredible. Okay? And our announcements for the week, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we'll be working out of 2 books this week. And Intro to ECE, which is the main book we tend to use a lot, and then Developmentally Appropriate Practices as well. So 2 different chapters, 2 different books. Give you a heads up on that in case you get to assignment and you're a little confused about where this is located. Also, I had a student ask this week about textbooks, because I brought up the idea that, of course, you get the e-textbook. It's part of your tuition. It's part of our school. All of our programs have e-textbooks. So here's the thing, though. Some people do better with e-text. Some people do better with actual physical books. So I talked to our library and media person. She said that this www.chegg.com is a great resource if you ever want to rent textbooks. You might, if you wanted one of those books, say for 3 months, it would cost you about $20 to $30. A lot cheaper than buying the textbook, and it may be helpful if you feel like you need to get your paws on one. So this is also open to many other textbooks as well in other colleges, so Chegg.com. And what we got, Bailey? Oh, you do? Once you become a member, you get coupons and study guides? I didn't know that. That's fantastic. That's with Chegg? That's great. Oh, this is the local preschool. Okay, great. I can't check. I can't click it on it right now, but I will and look at it. Okay, Sarah? Let me see if I can copy it here. I think I can. It's amazing what we can all do at one time, isn't it? Oh, it's an igloo. Is it one of the milk igloos, Sarah? Fantastic, because we did get to see one of those at Educare, and Katrina, when you go there for the visit, you'll get to see it too. I think they had to collect, oh, Lita, how many was it? 500 or 600 gallon milk jugs to make this milk jug igloo. I was thinking it was 500 or 600, so they had they sent a message home and asked for milk jugs that they would keep them and collect them, and each of the families donated to them until they had enough, and now they're in the process of building their milk jug igloo in their classroom. So cute. Okay, and lastly, on our announcements, don't forget to work on your e-folio. I know some of you are doing that already. So, leading on from that, I want to bring up a couple examples. Last week, we talked about, or I showed you an example of a mission statement. And this is in your e-folio. You'll have to come up with your own mission statement. I think the easiest way to approach the e-folio is to just imagine in your mind that you are starting your own preschool or daycare, and that you are gathering things that you will need for it. So it makes it a little bit more real. So when you go back to the first thing you need to do for your e-folio is write your mission statement. Write that as if you are starting this daycare, and I think it'll make a little more sense to you. Okay, so one thing you also might have to do, and this is fairly time intensive, so I want you to start this early and spend some time on it. You need to do an ECE menu that is breakfast, lunch, and one snack for 1 month. So again, we're pretending like you're opening up, hi Opal, we're pretending like you're opening up your own ECE facility, and you need to get the menu ready. So here's an example of a 1 month menu. And I really had to look around to find one that was just breakfast, lunch, and one snack. So here we go. If you'll notice, there's a variety of foods. They need, hey, they need to be things that the children would want to eat, but they also need to be healthy. You need to not be repeating foods over and over. So for example, you're not going to have Cheerios and milk every day of the week. Actually, I don't really even like that this one's mainly just cereal in the morning. I just noticed that. Did you guys catch that? Cheerios and milk, Rice Krispies and milk, Raisin Bran and milk, Shreddies and milk. So you can pick other things for your breakfast. Eggs and toast, eggs and bacon, oatmeal. You know, there's lots of different options, rice and milk. So come up with some good ideas for your breakfast menu. You also need to have what they would eat and drink for lunch. Now keep in mind on all of these it needs to be a food and a drink. And milk is probably for at least 2 of those things, but you can have, say, orange juice for breakfast every once in a while. Sausage biscuit, yeah, that'd be a good idea. Easy for them to eat. So we've also got, let me see, for lunch, mac and cheese, turkey soup, shepherd pie. Here's pancake one day for lunch. You can definitely do that. Grilled cheese. French toast for lunch one day too. Sloppy Joe, chicken and rice, beef sausages, spaghetti and meat sauce. So you get the idea. You're going to be planning your menu for the month. Pick a nice variety. Look on the internet for ideas because, of course, there's tons of menus out there. And yes, you can use your kiddo sample menus because now the only thing you may have to change is breakfast, lunch, and it used to be 1 snack. So be sure and add your snack on there too. So there's tons of menus out there, guys, that people have spent hours and hours on. I want you to create your own, and a great way to do that is just create a table in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, and then fill it in much like this one is done. So you can have your days of the week at the top. It needs to be 4 weeks total. And start on this soon in case you have any problems. Like I said, this is probably one of the most time-consuming things in the eFolio is getting the calendar together. Okay? And here's an example of another item you'll have in the eFolio. This is a boo-boo report. I know this is going to be hard to read for you, those of you on mobile devices, but it says name of child and date, time of injury, because it's important that we note that, location and type of injury, you want to describe it well, how the injury occurred, the treatment for the injury, if you notified anyone, and if you're recommending any follow-up care. So what this does is it really helps cover all the bases of what a parent would want to know if their child was injured at daycare or preschool, right? Because we never want to hear of this happening, and parents need more details rather than less. Don't leave it up to their imagination, because we want them to know exactly what happened, how you treated it, and if you're going to recommend some follow-up care, such as seeing the family physician or cleaning it out again in the evening, that'd be great. Chocolate chip cookies made from scratch. Oh, pancakes. Oh, Lita, don't get me started on chocolate chip pancakes. I'm trying to low carb it. You're tempting me. I love those. Okay, so you guys are going to find your own accident or incident report, and this one's just called the Boo-Boo report. There's many examples out there. So you need to be sure and have this in your eFolio. So that's an idea, again, of a couple things for you to do. Latina says, my daughter's school has things like this for when they get hurt and another like it for when she has seizures. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, exactly. And how old is your daughter, Tina? She's 5. So she may not go, hey, Mom, I had a seizure at school today. You know, it's not going to be something that she may pass on, and it's good that the school keeps track. Very good. Yeah, most public schools do. Some don't. You know, some the kid just comes home with a bruise, and you wonder what in the world happened. So it's definitely a good thing to have. Oh no. I could have sworn I typed some things in here. Student question of the week. I think I do remember earlier today going, what am I going to put in for the student question of the week? So I guess I should just open it up to you guys right now. Or do a weekly report. Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea, Sarah. Sure. So that they would know how she was at school as well. Yes. Oh no, your oldest son had one when he got a goose egg on the head. Oh no. Yeah. So I'm surprised. Yeah, and it is so important to cover your bases with this. So do any of you guys right here, right now, have a burning question that I could answer for student question of the week? Oh, they call us when you get, that's good, Sarah. Yeah, that's good too. And that they let them contact you. Do you have any questions that you can think of? I can't believe I didn't fill this in. And I can't think of a question off the top of my head that any of you guys have sent this week. The student question of the week is, how is Autumn? She is doing fantastic. She loves the warm weather. I was talking to her the other day, in fact, and she is getting big. And I'm not sure, but I think she is laying eggs. Because oftentimes when they first start laying eggs, they're sometimes a little bit smaller. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Sarah. And I've had a couple eggs now that have been on the small side. So I think our ECE mascot, Autumn, she's getting all grown up. She's a lady. I always call them my chicken ladies. You know how you can find out. How can I find out? I hope it's not too gross, Sarah. Oh, I have seen them do that before, Sarah. Yeah. So when they started laying, they would hunker down and stomp. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to watch her body language too and see. Yeah, because they are amazing little critters. And we have Ericanas, so we are getting green eggs as well already. About 5 eggs a day. Okay, so that was our student question of the week. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be sure to have that ready next week. Let's talk real quick about Chapter 6, which deals with accountability, standards, and assessment, which all three are very important in ECE. Oh, you got 6 going by. Oh no, green eggs and ham. Exactly, Lita. Exactly. I had somebody say. In fact, I took eggs to our president at CCC, and he said, "Wow, you don't have to color eggs for Easter, do you? Because I have brown and white and green, and I've heard there's a chicken that lays pink. I'll try to get one of those." Okay. Accountability first in ECE is being answerable to those who provide funds and ensuring that goals are accomplished. So here's the thing with your center. Again, let's look at our imaginary center. You may be reaching out to your community. You may be reaching out to your local businesses. Especially in services that actually serve the community and children of the community, you often have people that will donate time or money. You might have volunteers that want to come in, or maybe they'll donate supplies to you. And part of your accountability is showing them where these funds are being used. And you know, sometimes all it takes is, say a swing set has been donated to your center. A great thing to do would be taking a picture of kids on that swing set and putting it up on Facebook or LinkedIn, some social media, or contacting the newspaper. So we always want to be accountable and very transparent as far as how we are using these funds, and how are we using the funds that we're collecting from parents in the form of tuition. So we want to be accountable. We want to show them the goals that we are accomplishing at the center. Maybe we're building something new. Maybe we're improving something. We also have to have learning standards. And learning standards are basically in two different areas. Content, the skills to be learned, which basically goes back to curriculum. What curriculum are you going to use? Because this is where the content stretches from. And what skills are they going to learn from that curriculum? So learning standards, content, and performance, which is levels measured through assessment, and it may be formal or informal assessment. It just depends on what we're measuring, right? And lastly, assessment is promoting development, identifying problems, monitoring, evaluating programs, and accountability for everyone. And I believe it's in our next slide that brings up observations, which are a big part of Chapter 6. And for those of you that have never worked in a daycare or a preschool, observations are so important, and it's oftentimes the first thing we do with a new child, just to get to know them, to observe how they're playing with the other children, how they're getting along, what their mannerisms are. But also observations can be in the form of trying to fix a problem. Maybe there's a behavioral issue that we really need to watch. So these are 5 different types of informal observations, and I believe these come up in your assignments for this week as well. So this will be a quick little overview for when you're filling out your assignments. Okay, number 1 is an anecdotal record. This is one of the most frequently used, and it's basically a very good description. They consider it a word picture of the event or the behavior. Okay, so it's a nice little narrative. So we just write down basically what happened. Number 2 is the running record. Everything that happens during a specific time period. So a running record might be observing a specific child between the hours of 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Maybe we have a negative behavior that's happening during that time. So we'll take a running record during a specific time period, maybe for a week, and try to compare what we're seeing. The third is the ABC analysis, and this is actually more of an observation tool. You have basically 3 columns. You have the antecedent event, the behavior that you're observed, and then you have the consequences. So a great thing about the ABC analysis, and of course ABC comes from the words antecedent, behavior, and consequences. So what we can do here is not only are we recording the behavior, we also know what happened before the behavior occurred and what happened after. You guys are trying to check up on Facebook. That's great. Okay, number 4 is a time sampling, and a time sampling is a little different from an event sampling. So I want you to be sure you know the difference between those two. Time sampling, counting how often the behavior occurs. You can even do this with a little tally mark on a sheet. Maybe you have a child that's biting. Oh, that's a hard one to deal with too. Maybe you have a biter in the group, and you have to start with how many times a day or how many times a week this is happening. So you might take a time sampling and you're making a checklist. An event sampling, however, is totally different. It's not just a marking things off. It's a very descriptive a descriptive description each time the behavior occurs. So an example of an event sampling is actually the ABC analysis. And what makes the ABC analysis very good for event sampling is we're getting what happened before, what happened during, and what happened after. So these are all different types of observations that you might use in the ECE classroom. Do you guys kind of understand the difference between those 5? Because it will be very important when you're doing your assignment. That's why I really like to bring those up. Oh, your kid's bit one time. Oh yes, I know. It happens, and it's very normal. Even the best kid may take a little bite off someone, you know, and it's usually that they're overly tired or they're frustrated, or it can even be something as simple as if they're younger, they're teething. So we have to look at the event and then try to figure out what's causing it. And these observations are definitely a way to do that. Okay, next, let me see. Some characteristics of good observations. First of all, that you're being very objective, which means you're sort of stepping back. You're trying to be very impersonal, very removed from the connection. And try not to write things down that you're guessing are happening. What you're doing is you're stating the facts. So you're adequately descriptive. You describe nonverbal cues as well, hand movements, foot movements. Oh, my nose itches. Sorry, guys. That probably means something. I'm going to get money, my grandma would say. So you're being objective, good description, and you're recording everything that's happened. So the reader of an observation should be able to form a mental picture in their mind. That's how good it should be. Oh, yes, Lita, exactly. It could be allergies. Okay, so good observations. Okay, next, let's look a little bit at instruments as far as our assessment goes. You guys may have your own teacher checklist, and we talked about those in our last class, to have a checklist of what all's going on with that child, or maybe developmentally if they're reaching all the stages they should be. And also you might have a rating scale, and both of these things are things that you could come up with on your own, or that you may get from a fellow teacher, from off the internet, from out of a book. So everybody tries out different types of checklists, different types of rating skills, and you will find the one that's best for you. Just like planning books, you have to try them out and you'll find the right one for you. Next, standardized tests are tests that have been created usually by a company. There's lots of huge test-making companies out there, and they write the questions or the screening test or the diagnostic tools. They test them out. So a lot of research has gone into a standardized test. It might be a screening test, a diagnostic test, developmental, intelligence, or readiness. And an important thing to note is oftentimes on standardized tests, there's actually a little training period usually for you to go through, either from a person from that company or from a teacher that has used this test before. So they're fairly intricate. So the teacher-designed instruments can be a little more informal, standardized tests very formal. So did you guys, bringing this up for those of you that are in Oklahoma, did you see where they passed a bill today to do away with EOI tests? Those are called end of instruction tests. Are any of you guys familiar with them? Did you have to take them in high school? Or do you have kids that maybe had to take an EOI test? Yes, Katrina, exactly. I do not agree with EOI tests, and I'm very happy that they're getting rid of them. So this is something that high school students had to take. It was a requirement in Oklahoma. Say you took an algebra class at the end of the year, you had to pass what was called an EOI test to get credit. And you had to get, you have to pass 4 out of 7 EOI tests by the time you're a senior in order to graduate. So they're high stakes tests. They're done at the end of the year. And goodness, remember in high school when you would be taught something in the fall semester and you would have forgotten it by the end of the spring? Well, that's where it comes back to. So I'm kind of happy about this, and also it's going to save our state a lot of money, and we are currently having major budget issues. So sometimes you definitely can over-test, and I hope that we're getting ready to recover from that era. I didn't have to take EOI tests back in the day. You took your classes, and as long as you passed your classes, you graduated from high school. Lita, you were probably the same way. I bet, Sarah, you were too. Exactly. So that's my little spiel. Okay, speaking of the good old days, this is an example of a report card from 1957, and this would have been from a kindergarten. I think these are so cute. Okay, so if you look at the top, this was Kearney Public Schools in Kearney, New Jersey, Garfield School. Report card for Kenneth Gwynn. Kindergarten teacher was Miss Mercaldo, I believe. So in 1957, Kenneth was in kindergarten. And if you'll look at the top, let me get my pointer out. This is sort of a thing that we used to use. You'll see the months of the year, September when the school year started, because we didn't used to start until after Labor Day. October, November, December, January, all the way to June. Okay? So we have the days they were absent, the times they were tardy, how their health habits were. Were they obedient? And I like this because in September it says not always, but by January it shows improvement, and that is very typical of kindergarten. They're very new to school and to how things work and all those things that they have to learn. So it's much harder for them at the first of the year. But by after Christmas, they've kind of got the hang of it. So I like that he was showing improvement. It also says, is industrious, is courteous, works well with others. And again, we have in September, not always. In January and February, it said could be better. And then by April, it says doing better. So Kenneth was doing better with working well with others. Then, takes care of materials, pencils, crayons, probably a Big Chief notebook. And he did so well that he was promoted to the first grade. So isn't it interesting to see the assessments that we used to use? I remember on my kindergarten assessment, I guess, that said that I could tie my shoes. That was one of the things they felt was really important for children to learn in kindergarten, was how to tie their shoes. So it was a big thing if you got that column checked. Okay, next, a little bit about suggested methods for evaluating and assessing children. I have 2 different ones here. This one specifically for evaluating and assessing children, and you guys kind of know this again from our chapters. We usually start with the information about the child, name, date, where they grew up, etc. We observe them when they first get there to get to know them. We may do a developmental assessment. take a sample of the child's work, maybe their handwriting, maybe their artwork, and we may do some screening tests. So there's lots of different things that we can do to assess a child so that we build a curriculum that's best for them, right? Next, evaluating and assessing programs, not children this time. Information about the program, again, if you were starting your own daycare. Observations at the program, how teachers get along, how the students get along, how things operate on a day-to-day basis. Developmental assessments of the children, how well are they learning. Children's portfolios, here's that term again, portfolio, and usually that's samplings of the work of the child through the year. And then checklist and rating skills as well. Now, it's important to know both methods of assessing children in the ECE programs require family feedback. We always want to hear from the family to help make connections. We learn a lot about their children, the program, and we want the valuable input that parents can give and caregivers can give. So for those of you that have worked in a daycare preschool program, have any of you heard of the ITERS scale? Have you guys ever heard of the ITERS, I-T-E-R-S? No? No, so this is brand new. Well, it's basically, so it's the infant and toddler environments rating scale. So if you were evaluating a program or starting your own program, this would be a great scale to use for feedback for yourself. The ITERS is a book that you can buy, and when I taught it in SU, we actually gave this as an assignment to our students, that they bought the ITERS book and they did an evaluation at a daycare or a preschool using it. It takes some time to learn how to use it, and it takes several hours writing up your results from the ITERS, but it does, it counts and everything within a program. An example is you have to count how many books you have in the library and the topic is of those books. You have to count how many dolls are in the play area and check if they are multicultural. You have to check the playground environment. It's everything physical about a daycare or preschool, and it can be a great way to get ready, to be sure that you have everything that's required and for your possible DHS visit. So put that in the back of your head, the ITERS. So I think this is one of our last slides. Let me see here. Oh, we've got two more after this, but I wanted to know from you guys, what is your opinion of standardized testing? I know some of you guys have had experience with this. Maybe you have children in grade schools. Maybe you have children that have gone through junior high or high school, or you've gone through it yourself. A standardized test is one of those big old tests that may take hours to take. They can sometimes be stressful. Lita, not fun. They definitely have their use. Oh, Bailey, hate it, hate it, hate it. My personal experience and the kids I nannied for had nightmares about it. Oh, Brittany, I completely understand that as well. I witnessed quite a bit of test anxiety in children. It makes it hard for them to eat. It makes it hard for them to go to sleep the day before. And this, we could be talking about children as young as 3rd grade, especially with our high stakes reading test in 3rd grade in Oklahoma. They're definitely not fun. I would always stress out too much over them. And you know, and the main idea behind me asking you about this is that I want you to remember these things, and I want to think about them, because someday you may be a teacher or a teacher assistant in the position of having to give a standardized test. And we have to realize that it is a big thing to the child of what they're going through. And Lita, you're always nervous. Me too. I was a nervous tester as well. So, and we can do things to help alleviate some of that stress, such as giving them snacks, giving them breaks, giving them encouragement. At my child's school in Joplin, the younger kids made signs that they held up in the hallway that said, do good on the mat, you're awesome, stuff like that. And the kids that were getting ready to take the test walked through the middle of them like they were rock stars, and it really helped get them kind of pumped up for taking the test. They also had kind of like a spirit week for testing week, where they got to wear pajamas to school one day, or they got to dress like Einstein one day. So you can make it fun, you can help cut down on the stress so that they do better, but you can also just realize that this is really real stress to children. So remember, with lots of things, if you can put yourself in their shoes, that can really help out. So lastly, observe, record, tabulate, communicate. Use your 5 senses. Learn to see, learn to hear, learn to feel, learn to smell, and know that by practice alone, you can become an expert. And that's why I have you guys on the track for is becoming ECE experts, right? So you can land that dream job. All right, any questions that you guys can think of right now? Anything that I could help you out with? You cannot wait. I don't understand, Lita. Okay, Bailey, all good here. Thank you. Have great. Exactly. I'm going to do that. You too. Have questions that you can use for your interview tomorrow? Oh, Katrina, that would be good. Katrina, I want you to think about, well, you know, you work in a library. First of all, you probably already dress professionally. You're probably good at communicating with people because you deal with the public. That's 2 wonderful things right there. Be ready to answer questions. It'll be fairly low stress, but yeah, have a few questions of your own. What time does the center open? What time does it end? How should I dress for work? Is there anything I need to bring with me? Stephanie gave you a few, oh, dress, definitely. Where should I park? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you want them to know that you're thinking ahead and that you're using your brain. Exactly. You can do this. And shoot me an email after it's over so I know how well. You're going to love Educare, I will tell you that. And both Educare and CAP have recently told me how they're increasing the number of infant and toddler classrooms they have. So that's a big work area right now, guys. If you want to focus on infant and toddlers, they're needing teachers. Oh, it's at 3:30, great. We'll do good. Good luck. Thank you. It is an awesome place, isn't it, Lita? Oh, how many hours of externship do you need, Justin? It's 180 hours total. 180 hours. So if you're working 40 hours a week, it's a little over 4 weeks to get all of your hours in. However, some people work part-time, so it just depends on what will work into your schedule. Can you start while in class? Know that they'll have a definite start date for you. Stephanie Lawrence will have a start date for you, and you'll have to interview with a place. And now, an exception is if you're already working in a program. Sometimes you can get a little jump start. But as far as an externship goes at a new place, yeah, you'll need to start on your official externship due date. What it is externship is basically in place of a class. So it's like you have a start date for your class and an end date for your class, and you have to work within that time period. Does that make sense? Oh, good, that's right, Brittany. Are you feeling a little bit better? Good. Oh, you're welcome, Jasmine. No problem. Oh, I know, Brittany. Sometimes you get sick, and then it just feels like it hangs on, doesn't it? I hope it goes away for you soon. Especially when you're working on building a baby, too, right? You're very busy. Oh yes, exactly. I hate not being able to breathe. Put a humidifier in your room. That helps a lot if you have one. Let me see here. It looks like I have 3 different people. You guys are just typing away. Oh, you do miss. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was so happy to see you log on, though. Let me see that. I was so happy to see your name pop up. I'm sorry baby's not feeling good again. Aww. You know, with the little ones, it seems like you will just get them over something and then they catch something else. And you just get them over something and they catch something else. It's just part of building those little immune systems. I know it's hard, though. You don't want them to feel bad, do you? Oh, Brittany, hey, invest in it if you can. It helps so much at night, especially with your breathing. Lita, I'm sure, exactly. You're ready to hop out of the cafeteria, aren't you? Were you excited when you got to see Educare? Does that look like it'd be a fun place to work? Yeah, I think so too. Thank you, Brittany. Have a good night. Get some rest.